But my team knows that when an inquiry comes in, we have to call, text, and call, text, email. Call, text, email. Call 5 times over. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm telling you, the average is like 7 to 12 touches to get, to actually connect with somebody, because people are busy in this day and age. Of course, we spread it out every few days. But yeah, I mean, they know, unless you've called, texted, and emailed 5 different times, then you can move the lead to like a closed loss.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Services and Fuse Networks. My name's Galen.
And I'm Joe.
And we're coming at you from the Creative Block Studios in Seattle, Washington. So, Joe, for our new listeners and viewers tuning in for the first time, how do we start this whole podcast journey?
Sure. So about 4.5 years ago, we started out as a Facebook group page, and the purpose was just to bring business owners together into a platform to be able to share and talk and communicate. And because we're a marketing company, we get a lot of questions asked outside of just marketing in regards to running a business. So
Correct.
We thought, what a better way than to start a podcast and bring on different guest speakers who are experts in their field to kind of share their tips with our audience, everything related to business.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And joining us today from literally on the other side of the world, we have Christine McDannell from the Magnolia firm. Joe, what's today's topic before we have she introduce herself?
Sure. So it's suffering in corporate hell. Learn how to purchase a business instead.
Awesome. So Christine, to our audience, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Christine McDannell here. I have been an entrepreneur for 20 years already. It went by very quickly, I can say that much. Multiple companies I started from scratch. I've exited a bunch. I've bought, sold, acquired, flipped. Like anything to do with business, I've done it. And it's been a fun ride. And I was born to do this for sure. I was the little kid selling candy bars out of my backpack, and I had a snow cone stand, I was just totally born to do this. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. And that's why now I felt, kind of segue into M&A. So now I get to help people with their own exits of their companies, which is really exciting because I did most of my own transactions all those years. I had a broker on the first one, said, okay, I think I can do this better. So I was doing my own transactions.
Awesome. So since you've had a long entrepreneurial journey from selling candy bars to your own snow cone stand, what are some early lessons learned as an entrepreneur? Or let me rephrase that. Were there some lessons you learned when you first started that as a kid that you still use today?
I actually have one from being a teenager, actually. So my dad had raised me, and he had always promised me a used car on my 16th birthday. He took me out of school, went to the car lot, great Honda Civic that I wanted so bad. I look in the window, and it's a stick shift. And mind you, nobody in my family had ever had, I was never around a stick shift. And he goes, well, if you want this car, you're going to learn right now. And so the poor sales guy gets in the seat next to me. My dad's in the back seat. This poor sales guy is trying to teach me how to drive stick. I don't think I even installed it, which is great because my dad is yelling. He's like, Chrissy, if you don't figure this out right now, you're not getting the car. And I didn't realize that until like way, way, way later, maybe like 10 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, that was like such an incredible life lesson. Because in business, as you guys know, as we all know, like you got to figure it out, and you got to figure it out right now. Like, and even my team, my employees say, whoa, like something will happen and you'll just, it doesn't ruffle your feathers. It doesn't, you just figure it out really quickly. And I'm like, you have to in business. So I think that was just such an early lesson that again, when you don't realize it's a lesson until years later.
Nice. So from being an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've given people a lot of good advice, but what's the best piece of advice that you've been given?
I don't know where this one came from because it was a long, long time ago, and I don't know if it's probably somebody's quote from somewhere, but it's hire slow and fire fast. So I think, again, you're desperate, you need to fill a role, you hire too quickly, right? You hire the wrong person and it costs a lot to train them. And then the opposite happens. None of us like firing people. None of us. I've never met a business owner that loves to fire people. The only time I liked it is if they, I had one person embezzle from me, so I just couldn't wait to let her go.
Yeah.
So I was like ready. But yeah, I think you got to fire fast. You got to rip the Band-Aid off. It's the few times I put it off, it burned me so badly. So it's like, that's probably another best advice too. I'll tell you this one because you guys are marketers, and I've had a mentor for like 15 years, and he's a brilliant marketer in sales and marketing. Is that he taught me a long time ago that copywriting is an incredible skill. It's like the number one skill you should learn. And again, this is like 15 years ago, 20 years he told me, you got to learn amazing sales copywriting. And I use that on everything. If I'm trying to sell something, putting an ad online, it's not just for business. Like if you're an incredible copywriter, you can use it across the board in your entire life.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this segues great into our next question. You're talking our marketing language. We're getting excited already. But since it's a marketing podcast, tell our audience why marketing is important.
Oh my gosh. So everybody, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll see all my crazy businesses because they're not related, pretty much not at all. Meaning, I had a house cleaning company. I had a luxury car rental business. I had a social media firm. I did a SaaS tech company, wellness spa, Christmas tree business. Okay, all across the board. And people are like, whoa, like what? You had all these different businesses. And it's like, I'm telling you right now, if you're a good marketer, you could be successful in any type of business, right? Because the same kind of things marketing is just at the core of a good business. So if you're a good marketer, you can run any business, and you carry over those same strategies. And I think that's huge. That's what marketing plays. And I want to ask, I know it's your podcast, you're asking me questions, but I'd love to hear from you guys because there's always this debate on what's more important, marketing or sales.
I would say marketing is sales almost, where it's a function of it. You can't live without the other. I mean, you're always selling. So when you're selling something, you're marketing, whether you do it directly or indirectly. So that's almost like the chicken or the egg kind of debate, where I think it's, in my opinion, it kind of works hand in hand. You're always doing it, whether you like to or not, if you're in business.
And I think all business owners, like something that's taught to me is always be selling. So no matter who you're talking to, you're still trying to sell yourself and sell your company to that person or that individual. And at the same time that you're selling, you're also kind of doing marketing for your company, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And another, I'm just getting all these, so much advice, and I'm always open to mentors and coaches, and I read and study all the time. But another one, again, same actually mentor. He will take my copy and he'll flip out I, because it's like, or we, like we do this, we do that, I do this. And he's like, no, he goes, people only care about, it's like, what's in it for me, right? So they care about
factor,
themselves.
Right.
Exactly. So he would take my copy every single time. Now I don't, now I'm good about not doing that. But it's like, making sure it's about them, right? We're going to help you. And, so that flip. And then, to the sale, I know it is chicken or the egg. It's even a hard question for me to answer, right? As far as which one's more important, because marketing leads to sales, and you need the marketing to get to the sales. That's why I wanted to ask you guys, because it's a tricky question to answer.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
So now we come to the part of our podcast, our A-Advanced service, Pump You Up Quote of the Day. So Christine, I actually found this on a recent podcast that you're on. Jim Rohn, a lot of people know him, but I'll read this quote and I want to get your feedback. The fortune is in the follow-up. So share with our audience, with us, why that's so important to you.
I know, and I think I've been driving my team bananas with that quote the last couple months. Because I'm driving them nuts already about follow-up, right? Always across the board. So for us, again, we're in M&A. You've got, we work on the sell side. So we've got people looking to exit. We put the ads up. We're getting all the buyer inquiries. People are interested. Whether or not they're tire kickers, like you never know. So
Right.
I never ever want to treat somebody like they're, because I've done it where I'm like, oh, there's no way this person's going to buy the business. He's been looking for a year. He said he's looked up over 500 businesses, and the deadline's tomorrow. Like, it's not even possible. And then
Right.
this guy bought the business. So we treat everybody the same. But my team knows that when an inquiry comes in, we have to call, text, and call, text, email. Call, text, email. Call 5 times over. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm telling you, the average is like 7 to 12 touches to get, to actually connect with somebody, because people are busy in this day and age. Of course, we spread it out every few days. But yeah, I mean, they know, unless you've called, texted, and emailed 5 different times, then you can move the lead to like a closed lost, right? Okay, then it's a dead lead. So the fortune is in the follow-up, because you'd be amazed, it's on like that 5th follow-up, technically 15th, if we're doing email, call, and text, that, then you get a hold of them because you just caught them at the right time and they are interested. So fortune is in the follow-up. And I think in this day and age, people are just lazy. They're using these like email automated follow-ups. I see it a lot. I see it on LinkedIn. I saw it on email, but they don't want to take that extra step to get on the phone and to send a text.
Oh, and I think probably on mobile devices too, that people's attention spans have decreased over time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of see the pattern on social media where like years ago, you'd see Facebook posts static, and now everything's image, quick, short form video. So people just want things now, and when they forget, they're on to the next thing. So whether you were follow up, you're just kind of reminding them like, oh, we're still here. You still want to, but just to maintain that narrative. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because this is another point I want to bring up. Because again, my team is scared. My team is younger, millennials and even Gen Z, right? So they're younger, so it's kind of very uncomfortable for them. They usually don't ever talk on the phone. So it does. They're scared. Oh, so we're gonna make them mad. I promise you, out of all, like I think I've only seen one across the board where the person's like, you just called, emailed, and texted me, like, stop or something.
Right.
We never get, it's a quick no. It's kind of like, I don't like maybes, so I want a yes or no, right? So
Right.
usually, and it's funny, obviously text is going to be the quickest, right? They're just like, oh, no thanks. Oh, I'm not interested anymore. So we don't make people mad. They just get busy. Like you said, there's just so much going on. And
Right.
same with me. If somebody's following up consistently, I appreciate it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot. Like I was supposed to send them that. I'm glad they, texted me every day for 5 days, and now I finally am going to remember to do it. So yeah,
Right.
I don't think anybody should be worried about the follow-up or making somebody mad.
Cool.
Well, what you said about the follow-up was a past guest we had, Lynn Whitbeck, out here in the Seattle area, and she talked about the number of touches you're supposed to have with someone now is like 21 touches.
Every
20
time I hear the stat, I heard
21
14.
touches,
Like,
because
that
I
was
remember
like-
in early sales when it was like 7 touches, and then
Right.
it went to 10,
was
and then she's
7.
like 21, and I'm like, to me that seems ridiculous. But she also said you got to meet people where they're at. So like
Right.
what you guys are doing, where you're calling, you're texting, you're emailing, you're trying to meet that person where they're at and find the best one that works for them.
Right. And
That's
usually,
funny, so that would be 7 times. My team would have to do all 3 7 times.
Yep.
Gosh,
well, there's
I'm
no
not-
such thing
they'll
as
kill me.
junk text yet. There's junk email. So text is the quickest barrier to get to someone than
Yep.
email, or not everyone follows you on Instagram or your social media channels. But anyway, yeah, cool stuff. Moving on to our Fuse Networks Did You Know segment.
Millions of cybercriminals are out there on a daily basis trying to steal your information. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Small businesses account for 58% of cyber attacks annually. So help your company fight cybercrime and mitigate risk by being proactive. Call Fuse Networks, your local Seattle IT experts at 206-701-6040 for a complimentary IT network and security assessment.
So there's a couple myths that I have in this for our topic today that I want to ask Christine and just get her quick thought, because we've heard a lot of different feedback and everything. Joey, you mind reading the first one?
Yeah. I need to be rich to buy a business.
Not true. You might even pick one up for no money. So, I'll run through SBA real quick, and then I could talk about the getting
Okay.
businesses for free option, which is fun. So, SBA, let's use $1 million business, for an example. Let's say you have $1 million business, and the net profit is $250,000 a year, which is just 25% margins when you're tech. Software, that's totally reasonable. Even some service businesses are usually 15 to 20% net profit margins. And so the SBA is going to have you put 10% down, 10 to 20, but right now they've been actually being okay with putting 10% down. So that's $100,000 you're going to put down. Maybe you get it from your 401k, maybe you borrow it, maybe you have a home equity line you could pull from. So you're putting that $100K, towards the SBA loan. SBA loans for $1 million. You buy the business. This business is cash flowing $250,000. So there you go. You can probably replace your corporate, salary, ditch corporate hell, which everybody's doing right now, which makes me so excited. I literally just had a sales meeting, and the guy is going to leave corporate, and he's going to acquire his first business. So we're excited for him. But that's one route. Okay, the next route is just. I've picked up businesses at pennies on the dollar. It's just if they're burned out and they just want to walk away, they'll let you make payments to them, right? Yeah. They're just like, or they're about to shut it down. I've seen people about to shut their business down. So it's like, oh my gosh, I could just, I'll take it, off your hands. A spa, I bought one spa at a huge discount during COVID, a really amazing cash flowing spa. And then another spa was handed to me for free during COVID. She just was like, I'm out of here. This is stressful. We're moving out of the state, and I was like, you're just going to give it to me for free? Like all this equipment, the client list, etc. So again, if you catch somebody on a bad day, don't be afraid to ask, like, hey, don't ever shut down your business. Right. I can take it over and I can make payments to you. So then that's no money out of pocket.
Gotcha. But you're still out of pocket for that business you picked up for free. There is cash flow coming in, but you still have to make rent. You still have to make payroll. You still have to pick up whatever they're doing for marketing. Correct?
If they still have clients, if they already still have revenue coming in the door that's going to cover all those expenses, then you're not out of pocket, right? Because the income's going to cover it.
Okay. All right. So this next myth I want to read to you and get your feedback on. Buying a business is too much of a risk. So you have these people, whether it's corporate America, first time, second time, like, oh, it's scary. Nothing's guaranteed. What do you say to those people?
I know, and I'm not like a huge advocate for SBA, and I keep bringing it up, but let's bring it up again. I'm not an advocate because they put everything, and that's going to lead to why it's actually a good thing. But, they're going to run a fine-tooth comb. SBA, it's the government, right? Small Business Administration. They're going to run a fine-tooth comb through everything for both the buyer and for the business for sale. They take 3 months. Please, everybody listening, they always say 45 days. It never is 45 days. It's around 90 days, about 3 months. My own transaction included. So a buyer bought my spa. SBA said 45 days. And then it was getting push. So imagine you think your business is sold and it gets pushed all the way 93 days out. It was super stressful. But with all that said, they do comb through it because they have a 98% success rate. Okay, so if you bought a business with an SBA loan, that means your failure rate is 2%, which is like tiny. Okay, you must have to do some major damage to make that business fail. So I think that takes a lot of risk off the table for a buyer, which is great.
Awesome. I like this last one. If a business broker is involved, it's going to be more difficult.
I know, and I'm on all these message boards where everybody's bashing business broker. And I ain't even calling myself a business broker. You'll see it written. It's written as business intermediary or M&A advisor. I hate even using the word business broker because there is such a bad connotation, and for good reasons, because there are some bad characters out there. Is it harder? So it is somewhat of a gatekeeper, right? You're not working directly with the seller. The seller's very emotionally involved. So if they like you, they're probably going to drop the price. Like they're not this neutral third party like I am, right? So my job is to get, the most I possibly can for my seller, right? And there's no emotion attached to it whatsoever.
Right.
I'm still working on a win-win, and again, this meeting was so much fun because they're both, my seller's great and this guy was great, and I'm like, this is going to be great. So from that sense, I think, let me think all the kind of reasons, because I hear them all the time on the message boards. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have a little bit of a barrier because you're then negotiating against somebody that negotiates for a living, right? Not just a seller that maybe, is just doing his business, but maybe necessarily doesn't like negotiating. What else? Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any good. I mean, being represented by an advisor is huge. So, right, I'm saying kind of the opposite side of it. But yeah, if you're a seller and you're being represented, great, because you're like, you don't have to worry about it as much. But yeah, if you're a buyer trying to buy a business and you feel like you're getting blocked, and that's unfortunate, right? So it should be somebody that's willing to cooperate and make the deal work, not block the deal, because I see that too, or blow up the deal. So yeah, that's something I hear all the time, which is a bummer.
So do you, I know you'll know the answer to this, but the advantage of having like not the word broker, but an intermediary or someone to help them with the transaction, does that help locate blind spots that if it was just you on its own would not normally see? Because I'm pretty sure if you're advising someone purchasing a business, there's like a checklist of let's make sure everything's covered. And if you're just, Joe and I just want to buy a business, we want to buy this coffee shop next door, like, all right, we want to buy our business, put an offer, and we may not know the right steps. Is that kind of some of the things you work with your clients to make sure they're covered, and that win is you win, but there's this debt sheet that I didn't know about, those kind of things. You help your clients with those kind of things?
Definitely. And so we're doing more, we're getting into the buy side now too, which is exciting. So we're helping, buyers find the perfect acquisition, and I'm walking them through that part. Or people or buyers just pay me hourly to consult and to review their deals. So they go find their deals, and then they bring, we pop them up on a Zoom, and we spend an hour, and I'm just kind of ripping the business apart. Or I'm like, ask them that, I just did one last week, where I'm like, okay, make sure you ask this, make sure you ask that, make sure you ask this, and find out, and he was like, oh my gosh, these are great questions that, and he's already owned a business, this guy. He's just he did a startup. Now he's acquiring his first established business. Because there's a lot and I could find them quick. And again, I think it's 20 years in this world of business. I've seen a lot. I can look under the rug. For our listings, we point out the elephant in the room up front. Out the gate, you're gonna hear about it during the seller interview that we do and we record. There's every business has, even though ours are A+++ listings, every business has an elephant in the room, every single one. So we want to make sure we bring that out. But yeah, my job, if I'm working with a buyer, is to find those, whatever's under the rugs, because most sellers are sneaking stuff in, and I got to figure it out. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's get into the topic a little bit. So those people watching this podcast episode, interested in purchasing a business, if it's your first time, do you just go with a business that you feel comfortable with, that you've endorsed in the past, or you want something safe? How does one figure out the kind of business they want to purchase? Or, how do you get started looking the research part of that?
Yeah, definitely kind of take some time and write down stuff you enjoy, hobbies, what you're good at, right? Are you a good operator? There's two major personality types. You've got the visionary, right? And then and that's like the CEO person, that's the entrepreneur. And then you've got the implementer, integrator personality. There are two different personalities. It's very rare to find someone that can do all of it. But that's more of your COO, organized person, right? That can run the business, and then you've got the other. So start there. Are you an operator? Are you a good visionary that likes to grow and build and create? Then finding your business, once you start looking, what does that business need most, right? Does it need, but if it's like humming along, so a lot of these businesses are just like, they're already built, they're already running, they already have managers. So I think in those cases, being an operator is a great skill. Well, actually both ways. If an entrepreneur wanted to jump in, they could super scale it really quickly, right?
Right.
And then if an operator wants to come in and it's like, hey, great, it's spitting out, 250,000, and I just need to kind of operate, I've got managers and it's running, and I've sold my businesses where the buyers, that's exactly what they wanted. And years later, I'm always like, hey, because I was such a growth person. So I'm like, hey, what's the revenue? And they just keep the revenue the same year after year after year. It's hilarious to me because I wouldn't want that. I was like, but that's what they wanted. They have families and they just wanted the income and to work for themselves.
So is there so for our audience who's listening, are there like 3 steps you can give our audience on, you're looking to purchase a business, here are 3 steps you need to take to move forward in purchasing a business?
Yeah, definitely comb through due diligence, and they'll let you in. So you'll first talk with the owner. So I'm going to give cases where you're going straight to the owner. So you're going to the owner, you're learning about their business, you're going to dive into their financials, all that, the data room, whatever they can provide, get as much as you can from them, like anything, marketing materials, etc. If they're okay, well, the team won't know, so they definitely don't want to tell the employees, which is a bad idea. Like we all know that. So then the next step, and if they see any red flags, I'm telling you, if you see one thing, one lie, you have to walk. Because that means there's more. And I tell my sellers that too. I'm like, if we actually have a paragraph in the agreement, if we find out that they lied about anything, that we part ways immediately, because that will blow up a deal. So yeah, making sure that's all good to go. What else when you're looking for a business? Yeah, make sure the numbers make sense, because if it doesn't, then that's not going to work, and then you will fail. And then towards the very end, which is, you've made an offer, you're doing your due diligence. Towards the end, be sure to interview a couple of the clients. They're not going to give you the whole client list until you close, but they definitely need to be open about you speaking with a couple of their clients. And they could position it as like, oh, this is a consultant, or this is an impossible investor. They don't have to say, oh, this person's buying our business, because God forbid it falls out. So those are the top 3.
Okay, for financing, I know you've mentioned SBA, but for businesses who are looking to purchase a business, what are some other options or creative options that people can get funding when they purchase a business?
Yeah, there's so many. Like I said before, pulling home equity line, pulling from your 401k, which is called a ROBS, and that's penalty free. Most people don't know that. So that your 401k is like your own bank. So you can pull from it to either start a business, buy a business, or grow your business. And very few people know that. And that's called a ROBS, ROBS. You can borrow from friends or family. You can get investors. You can do the SBA loan. You could do, a regular conventional bank loan. You can have the seller carry, and that means that the seller is going to give you part of the price, purchase price. They're going to carry back. So they're going to have a loan personally with you, and you're going to pay them back within a few years, and you're going to pay interest, monthly payments. So yeah, there's so many creative ways.
So I have a question. Since we're a digital marketing company, does a website, how valuable is a business website as an asset when you're buying a company? Is that important?
Like, you look at how much traffic the website is getting, how many leads it's generating, things like that?
We were just pulling an SEM Rush report just today. I was just talking to the team because some of these, some of the businesses we've listed are like 23-year-old businesses with like insane traffic, and they didn't even know. And if it's such, like, we want to pull a report and we want to put that in the data room, right? So, a website, you've got to have a really good domain. We will go on GoDaddy. Like, we'll take somebody's domains, because sometimes they have more than one. And then we'll plug it into GoDaddy, and we'll kind of get, they give estimates of what they're worth. But a lot of it's not really worth enough to even talk about. But yeah, you're right. The traffic, is it organic traffic? That's important, right? Somebody loves that, business getting all this organic traffic. They love hearing that.
So are there, for our audience out there, so what are the top 3 businesses people are looking to purchase? Is it a specific industry or types of businesses that you see are more common that people are wanting to acquire nowadays?
Oh, I'm going to tell you my 7 magical R words.
Oh, here we
that
go.
Everybody wants. And then, but before I say that, the car washes and the laundromats, no. I keep seeing people selling courses, and I'm like, there's courses all over the place that are like, yeah, buy a laundromat. It's go talk to people that own laundromats.
Okay.
The machines are breaking. The people aren't showing up. Yeah. Oh, why do one of you guys? You don't know anybody that owns a laundromat, do you?
No, but
No.
those seems like the expensive businesses to own because everything is always breaking down and people don't really care about your stuff, so you're always fixing stuff. So I feel like it's taking a lot from your
vandalizing.
profits.
And who carries
I'm
like
sure.
quarters now? I mean, you have to put machines like, let me just scan a QR code to pay, or digital options now. It just seems like there's a lot
Exactly.
of stuff. Anyway, we'll get away from that, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those don't do. Those are unsexy, and don't don't pay $5,000 for a course to trick you into buying one of those. What I will tell you is selling the magic R words, the 7 of them, is remote based. Any business. So again, these aren't going to be brick and mortar. Okay, these are going to be online based. So you got a remote based business. Revenue growth, so that they're scaling up, their revenue's growing. Recurring revenue is a big magical word. Everybody wants that recurring revenue. So that's huge, and that's why SaaS is so popular and sexy, right? Because that's usually 100% recurring revenue. Relocatable is another one. So that so it's remote based, but sometimes they have an office for some of the team, but you can always relocate that if needed. Retention is another R word. That's going to be retention of your clients, retention of your team. So just making sure you have a low churn rate. Removal of the owner is a big one and a hard one. So that means the business cannot be wrapped around the owner, but at the same time, an owner can't say, oh, I work 0 hours, because nobody's going to believe that. It's not true. A sweet spot would be that they're working 10 to 15 hours a week, because that means they've got a great management team in place, great team. They're maybe just checking on reports. They're probably doing strategy. You want to make sure they're not doing all the sales, which again, every owner sells better than anybody in their company. Like, we all know that. It's like the last hat. So for me, sales and marketing are like the last hat I ever give up. Usually on the day of close, the marketing hat. I have it till the day I close. It gets ripped off of me because I'm holding on to it, right? Because I love doing the marketing, and that's always my last role. But yeah, you don't want to be doing all the sales in your company if you're about to sell, because they're going to be like, well, you're selling all these clients. When you leave, what's going to happen. And then the last one is repeatable sales process. So just having your operations manual, SOPs or playbook dialed in. So everything is repeatable, right? You're not just winging it every time you land a client.
awesome stuff.
I have another question off topic though for you. How did you start your company and why did you call it the Magnolia Firm?
It's a funny story. So I started mine because, so in 2021, I had a couple girlfriends exiting. They were like, Christine, we know you've done a lot of your own transactions. Can we pay you to consult on we're selling right now. One even had an M&A advisor, and I was kind of like the behind the scenes because they were so bad, and she was trying to have me help, secretly help, and even write emails and everything and doing the negotiations, but I was kind of like behind the scenes. And then, I closed 5. That was October. By that December, I had 5 closings in 1 month, which is insane in this industry. It was crazy. So everybody was like, you need to do this for real. And so I was like, well, it was going to be my retirement plan was to open a little boutique M&A firm. I was like, okay, I'll do it now. And I automatically knew the name. So because my spa, I started Wellness Spa in 2012. And this branding firm, we paid a lot of money. Branding firm comes up with 5 incredible concepts, incredible names. It was so hard for me to pick. I had people vote, and Magnolia House was the second runner-up. Eco Chateau was the one that won, and I'm glad it worked out. Eco Chateau, but Magnolia House was the second name. So I just knew. I was like, immediately, I'm going to call it the Magnolia Firm. It's like 10 years later, the name was like stuck in my head.
So there's no inspiration with like Chip and Joanna Gaines with the Magnolia Network, with them doing that.
And I've already checked with no, not whatsoever. I didn't even know who they were until people were worried on my behalf. And I checked with my lawyer multiple times. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? And she's like, no, it's fine. You're in a different space. But yeah. People reference that sometimes.
I mean, because that's not a bad association at
Right.
all. So
No, not at all. And it's got a little more of a feminine vibe, right? And so I think in M&A, it's just so boring and so many suits, and it's like it was kind of fun to do something a little more, playful and light, and so I'm very happy with the name. Finally got to use it.
Because I will say, like on the last, we've had 3 other M&A guests on, and they've all been male. So is the M&A space more male driven, or is it more women driven?
No, I don't know the exact percentage, but if I had to guess, it's probably 90% men,
Okay.
10% women. Yeah, which is totally A-okay with me. There's kind of this unconscious bias that, women are more trusting.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to negotiating, there's no ego involved. So I've
Right.
learned, because I watch 2 men negotiate, it's like they're hitting against each other,
Right.
back
Right.
and forth, back and forth. But then I've noticed that's not the case when I'm negotiating with somebody. It's just a different energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great to be a female in this space. Like, I don't see it as a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So before we send off, for our viewers, listeners that may want to connect with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you or the Magnolia firm?
Yeah, it's Christine McDannell, super easy to find on LinkedIn. I'm great about checking LinkedIn all the time. They can go to the Magnolia Firm is on all the, it's on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Facebook, all that fun stuff. And then the magnoliafirm.com for our website. Yeah, so guys, I'm so glad this is the first time I've gone on like a marketing podcast. I was excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah, we get excited, especially you feel comfortable talking about marketing. It's the last hat that gets pulled from you. We like that because we're kind of nerds about like marketing stuff. So thank you so much for sharing your insight. I know it'll reach a couple people in the audience and really be impactful. So thank you for sharing your insight.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed having you on. I think you bring a different energy. Your energy was very positive, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And then, last thing I want to mention, I keep forgetting, we just launched our book. It's called Get Acquired. It's on Amazon, but if you guys message me on LinkedIn, I'll send you both the digital version for free and the audio version, which I narrated. And
Nice.
It's a 3-hour listen, but it's called Get Acquired. For anybody looking to sell their company, but even somebody wanting to acquire businesses, you'll get a lot out of it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So on behalf of our sponsors, A Advanced Services and Fuse Networks, my name's Galen.
And I'm Joe.
Coming at you from the Creative Block Studios in Seattle, Washington. Christine, thank you all the way from Dubai joining us where it's into the next day. So we appreciate.
Almost 1 a.m. here.
Oh, there you go. So cheers. Have a good nightcap for me. But thanks for watching and tuning into this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.